we're getting ready to move once again. It's been an amazing month here down in Whithorn in the south of Scotland. I'm currently out just running some errands, getting some cleaning supplies and restocking the house. We are moving to Indianapolis for 2 weeks before heading to Kansas City. But tomorrow we are leaving and we're going to go from Whithorn up to Glasgow to stay for a couple of nights because we do have an 8:30 a.m. flight on Wednesday morning. It's a 7-hour flight to Toronto, and then I think it's a 1-hour flight from Toronto to Indianapolis. It should be smooth sailing. There are no restrictions anymore for flights, and we only need an ETA visa to stop off in Toronto because we'll be stopping off for 3 hours to do a changeover. But then we're going to be in the States for 2 to 2.5 months, which is fantastic because that's probably our longest stay so far since we've been house sitting. We did have 6 months in London, which was incredible because even though we had a couple of house sits there, they weren't massive transitions or flights between any of those house sits. And every other one since then has always been a big move. So this time when we're in the States between our 2 house sits will just be a 7-hour drive. So that's actually pretty good. We're really looking forward to being in the States. There's going to be Halloween, there's going to be Thanksgiving, Christmas, a white Christmas for that matter. So we're really pumped for that. But this is the sad part where we actually have to leave the animals that we love and go and do all the hard work before we get to our next destination. But this is just a small downside to the massive upsides about living this lifestyle. We have been working extremely hard up until this point because when you do transition, you do lose a week. So I am trying to get as much work done in the next couple of days, knowing full well that we're going to lose days of work to travel and just being tired from the move. So I guess it's time to head back to the house and get all the cleaning done and all the packing done once again. So anyway, back to the house now to get back to work and get back to the cleaning and all the chores we have to do. So one thing you do when you're finishing up in your house sitting is that you refill anything that you've used, which seems odd, right? Because why would you eat someone else's food? But they're not going to be here for a month. And sometimes when you arrive, you don't always have the things that you want and you don't know where the shops are. So if you need like flour, milk, eggs, those things are going to go off anyway. So you might as well eat them. Otherwise, you're just going to be throwing them in the bin. So I've just done that shop and now I'm restocking the fridge. We didn't actually go through too much of their stuff. They just had a lot of milk and some cheese, which was obviously going to go off. So I've replaced that. And some chips because, well, you know, felt like chips when we got here. Fortunately, when you are house sitting, people are so friendly that they're like, just help yourself. We don't necessarily help ourselves. We might just take a little bit here and there. For example, we have done a little bit of baking since we've been here. We didn't have a couple of ingredients and we couldn't find them at some of the local shops because the main shop is about 25 to 35 minutes away. It was just easier to borrow some of the ingredients in the meantime. And then when we finally went out up to Newton Stewart, which is the next major town, we'd go to a major shop and restock some of those items. But I must say it is quite interesting when you do look back at some of the things that you have eaten and you wonder, oh, did we replace that? How much of that do we eat? And then, you know, you end up going for quite a moderate sized shop when you do go to restock some of these items. So I've just gone and picked up about 50 pounds worth of stuff, which is not heaps, but it's not nothing at the same time. So, but just another thing you have to do before you leave. It will put you in good stead for a good review because you don't want people coming back and finding that things are missing. Even though they have said that you can have some, it's just nice for them to come back from their holiday and to see that their pantries are full and their fridges are full. So that's it. Our Whithorn house sit is finally done. We're finally in the car, and we've got this 3-hour drive to Glasgow now. It's strange in these moments because you'd go through all that hard work to clean up the house, and then you realise that you've still got this massive drive ahead of you, and then another whole day of travel. So we've got 2 nights in Glasgow. We're going to try and relax and enjoy ourselves. We're going to be only 10 minutes from the airport, which is great because we do have an 8:30 flight. We've had the best time here in Scotland. The house sit was incredible and the pets were awesome. So now we're going to enjoy the rest of our time here in Scotland, and we'll give you an update when we get to our Glasgow accommodation. The drive from Whithorn in the south of Scotland to Glasgow is incredible. There isn't an amazing straight highway that goes between the 2 points. It's actually straight through the Galloway Forest Park, which gives you these incredible views of the hillside. Large parts of the forest were still covered in fog, even at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which was amazing. But let's just say that the road wasn't ideal. As you go up that path, it kind of gets narrower and narrower at points. While there is a road, it definitely is smaller, windy, and even at times you can't see any of the traffic coming over the bend. At times we were driving 30 or 40 miles an hour, and we had to come to these sudden stops because there was this unexpected car or truck coming the other direction. At one point there was a semi-trailer, and I'm thankful that it wasn't coming fast and we could see it off in the distance, but I'm actually just wondering how they managed to get that through those paths. And what an amazing way to see the Scottish countryside before we leave tomorrow. On the way down to Whithorn, we went down the main highway to Dumfries. That was a much cruisier and safer drive down there, whereas yesterday's trip was a much more scenic drive. But we are very, very happy to be this close to the airport. It's nice to get most of the travelling done. And now we can kind of just relax today, make sure we're packed and head off to the airport tomorrow. Staying really close to Glasgow airport was an awesome idea, except in the morning we couldn't find a taxi. That's because only certain taxis could pick up from Paisley, which is right next to Glasgow airport. Fortunately, we got there early so we could relax before jumping on our flight. A direct flight from Glasgow to Indianapolis was quite expensive, so we actually did a self-transfer flight, and luckily we got through nice and easy because it was 3 hours. It went so smoothly that now we have a bit of time to kill. This is going to give us that little bit of time to relax and have a break, have something to eat before heading off on our next flight to Indianapolis, where we'll be staying 2 nights at an Airbnb before heading to our new house sit, which will be for 2 weeks. So here's hoping everything else goes smoothly, and we'll see you in Indianapolis. So we're finally in Indianapolis. We made it. We left Toronto on the smallest plane ever. There was no immigration here. Straight to baggage claim and straight to the taxi. Now to the Airbnb. So we finally made it here to our Airbnb, and what a rubbish way to end the end of our amazing trip. So in total we've been traveling for about 17 hours. We landed in Indianapolis and we're straight into the baggage claim area before getting a taxi. The taxi driver didn't take electronic payments or card or anything. He only wanted cash. And because we just arrived and it was such a long trip, we just jumped in the car thinking that there'd be no issue, we'd be able to pay with card, as we've been paying with our Australian card all the way through Europe and Asia, only to find out that when we arrived to the house that we couldn't pay him. So what happened is Laura got out and went into the Airbnb with Emery, and I went on a hunt with the cab driver to an ATM, but there was still no luck because none of the ATMs took the card either. So fortunately for us, I signed up to TransferWise in London about 3 months ago, and I hadn't really used the card since because I couldn't be bothered transferring money to it. The savings were minimal because we were actually getting quite a good exchange from our bank in Australia. So anyway, I got him to drop me back at the house. I charged my phone battery, hooked up to the Wi-Fi because we still didn't have SIMs at this point either. So we managed to pay him, but man, it was just such a headache. It was probably an hour and a half of all this running around. All we wanted to do was come here, have showers, have something to eat and go to bed. It's currently 7 in the evening here in the US, but in Glasgow, it's actually 12 a.m. So we're really, really tired. It was a long day. The only one of us that didn't sleep the entire trip was Emery, which is amazing. I have no idea how he's managed to stay awake this long, but he's definitely tired now. I suppose the best thing about this is we can have a really good sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow feeling relatively refreshed. And while we'll still be tired, the jet lag hopefully won't nearly be as bad, which is handy because both Laura and I will have to work in the morning. So Uber Eats is arriving now, so it's time to go have something to eat and then go to bed.